Hi, welcome to Driving TV, and I hope you are well. In this video, I like to answer the question: when you are driving a manual car or learning in a manual car, do you put the clutch down first or the brake first when you are stopping or slowing down? This is one of the questions which comes most, and this is the one I like to answer in this video. Let's start the lesson. Okay, so when you are driving a manual car or learning in a manual car, you need to deal with the clutch, because the difference between a manual and an automatic is the clutch and obviously the gear. So we're going to talk about the clutch here. What goes first? Clutch first or brake first when you are stopping or slowing down? So firstly, let's understand what is the job of the clutch and then the job of the brake. Because if you could understand the job of each pedals, we will then understand which one to use first. So what is the job of the brake? The job of the brake is to stop the car, slow the car, and to give a signals to the car behind. So we stop the car with the brake, we slow the car with the brake, we also give a signals to the car behind. How? Because when you put the brake, the red light comes at the back, so that cars behind knows that you are slowing or stopping. So let me repeat, what is the job of the brake? Is to slow the car, is to stop the car, and to give a signals to the car behind. That's the job of the brake. Make sure you understand this, because the problem with many learners or many drivers is because they don't understand the job of each pedals. When you understand the job of each pedals, you will understand which one to use first. Okay, so we talked about the brake. Let's talk about the clutch. What is the job of the clutch? The job of the clutch is to move the car, change gear, and keep the engine running at the end. So in a manual car, for you to move the car, you can't move the car without the clutch. You put the clutch down, you go to first gear, and then you bring the clutch to the biting point. This is when the car starts to move. Many learners, they think that is the gas moves the car. No, it doesn't. It's the clutch moves the car. So number one, the job of the clutch is to move the car. Second job is to change gear. You can't change gear without the clutch. You put the clutch down and then you change gear. And the third one is the most important to answer the question, is to keep the engine running. The job of the clutch is to keep the engine running. So now let's talk about answering the question. Okay, so I need to slow the car or I need to stop the car. What do I do first? Think of the job, the brake or the clutch. To slow or to stop, which job description does it come under? So if you just need to slow the car, you don't need the clutch at all. All you need is to brake, okay? And then if you need to change gear because your speed is too low, then you put the clutch down to change gear. Remember, changing gear, you have to put the clutch down. Just to slow the car a little bit, you don't need the clutch at all. You just brake and then you let the brake go if you don't need to slow the car anymore. If you need to stop the car, you cover the brake, put your foot on top of the brake, cover the clutch. So you cover both. But which one do you use first? It's the brake. Nothing to do with the clutch. You can't put it on top of the clutch for you to use it at the end. You just cover it, but you put the brake on to slow the car. You slow, and just before the car stops, what do? You put the clutch down. Why? To keep the engine running. To keep the engine running, that's the job of the clutch. Okay, so we didn't put the clutch down to slow the car or to stop the car, did we? What did we do? We brake, and just at the end, just before the car stops fully, what do? We put the clutch down fully, because if we don't, the engine is going to cut off. The car will stop, but it will stall because you didn't put the clutch down at the end. Okay, many learners, they put the clutch down first and then they put the brake. They think that that's the way it should be done. No, it should be brake first, and just before the car stops, you put the clutch down. And if you just need to slow the car for some reason, you don't need to stop, just slow maybe a little, you just brake and then you let go if you don't need the brake anymore. So I hope you understand, when you are driving a manual car, when you are slowing or stopping, which one goes first, the brake or the clutch. Remember, to keep the engine running, that's when you need the clutch. So to conclude, when you are driving a manual car, do I put the brake first or the clutch first for me to slow the car or to stop the car? To answer the question, for you to just to slow the car, you don't need the clutch at all. It's only the brake. You brake to slow the car and then you release when you don't need it anymore. If you need to stop the car fully, that's when you brake, 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 and just at the end, when the car stops fully, that's when you put the clutch down all the way down to the floor to keep the engine running. Okay, so this is how you normally drive your car. So your right foot is on the top of the gas or the accelerator and you're driving the car, and your left foot is on the floor resting. Okay, now for you to slow the car, all you do is you bring your right foot on top of the brake and you start braking and you slow the car. Okay, you don't need your clutch at all. Okay, don't put the clutch down. This is where many learners, they make that mistake of putting the clutch down to slow the car. For you to slow the car, you don't need the clutch at all. All you need is the right foot on the brake and you slow the car. Once you've done your slowing, you move your feet and you take it to the gas and you carry on going. Okay, now let's talk about how to stop the car fully. For you to stop the car, you bring your right foot on top of the brake, okay, and you start braking, and when you're doing that, you cover the clutch. When I say cover, you put it on top of the clutch, but don't put it down. You just put it on top. Okay, don't put it down. So you brake, 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 you brake, brake, you brake, keep braking, and just before the car stops fully, we put the clutch down to the floor. Just before the car stops fully, we put the clutch down to the floor. Why? So we keep the engine running. So we don't put the clutch down to stop or to slow. We put the clutch down at the end so we keep the engine running. So just before the car stops fully, we put the clutch down to keep the engine running. I hope that answers the question, and I hope you now understand what goes first, brake or the clutch. Thank you for watching and hope to see you again on the next video. Bye for now.